Guys, it's been like a new, I don't know, like fucking EC bracket thing, right? It's like 9-0 to 10-0 or something. The F6 is actually good now. Look. I'll show you. So 9-0 to 10-0, all right? So that means none of this, none of these things, none of whatever the fuck Gaijin was thinking when they added this to 10-3, and none of these little shits either. So I'm gonna find a game. We're gonna try and kick ass, and like, yeah, we'll see what happens. Enjoy. I should probably mention at this point as well, the reason I like the Hunter F.6 so much is because it has these things called SRAM. Now, SRAM stands for something, probably. And if you look at them on the stat card, on the surface they don't actually look that impressive, but once you sort of use them, you'll start to realize that there's something really weird about these missiles. And what it is they have this thing called thrust vectoring, right? And what that is it essentially just means that the missile doesn't need any airspeed in order to turn, right? So like any other missile, you'd sort of have to fire it off the rail. It would then fly in a straight line for maybe like half a second to gain the airspeed, so it has enough, you know, sort of lift in order to maneuver. The SRAMs don't do that, so the second you fire them off the rail, they will go right into the direction that the enemy airplane is in. The downside is to these, they have like a range of like a mile tops, you know, and once they do that like one initial turn, they don't actually continue to like pull the next 20G. They kind of just weasel around a little bit and don't really hit anything. So you do need to sort of pick your moments, but when you do pick the right moments, these things are nigh undodgeable. That's not to say that you can't dodge these missiles. You definitely can if you know what you're doing, but because of the short range of these missiles, they generally don't leave you with a lot of reaction time, and if you're in an aircraft that has a slow roll rate, then it can be kind of tricky. And even if you do manage to dodge an SRAM, this thing is an excellent dogfighter and it shoots bullets the size of beer cans. Ah, fuck off, did I not kill him? Oh, alright, never mind. There is a downside to these things, however, and that is, like I said earlier, the range. The range on these things, to put it bluntly, is, well shit. What's going to end up happening a lot is because the Hunter isn't supersonic, if you're chasing anything with an afterburner, they're just going to end up running away from you, and this can lead to a lot of frustration, especially if you're one of those games where the enemy team just seems to be paying attention all the time. However, if you're one of us like weird aircraft enthusiasts and you're fairly new to the game, you might actually enjoy just flying in a straight line. This is amazing! Oh, hello. No, but seriously, if you've ever played Japan between like 3.0 to like 5.0 or something like that, you'll know exactly what I mean. Like, they're super fun when people actually engage you in a fight because you're so much better in close quarters, but once people sort of learn this, and generally people that are a bit more experienced just know this off the bat, they know you're going to beat them in close quarters, so they're just not going to engage you. What's going to happen is they're going to take pot shots at you and then they're just going to dive away or run away or whatever, and you're not going to be able to catch them. And if you have like a whole team doing this to you, it can become very frustrating really fast. And it's kind of the same thing with the Hunter, you know, people see that you have these incredibly scary missiles that only a handful of people really know how to counter. And if you know it's subsonic, so if you're on a MiG-21 and you have the capability of going twice the speed of sound, what are you going to do? Of course, you're just going to run away from the guy, which, you know, sort of means if you fly this thing, you're going to be chasing a lot of people, and you know, I'm not necessarily saying that's the wrong move for them, because if they do, you know, if a MiG-21 for instance decides to dogfight you, you can energy trap them pretty easily in this thing. I mean, the rate speed on the Hunter, I'm not sure exactly what the exact rate speed is on it, but its energy retention is amazing. You can do verticals, you can do flat rate turns after about, maybe, I mean, it sort of depends how you merge, but after about the third turn, the MiG-21 is going to be out of energy, and you can just kind of dance around them. It's incredible. So you can't really blame them for running away, you know, and that's kind of the curse of dogfighters in this game, to be honest, because once people realize that you're going to beat them in a close quarters dogfight, they're not going to engage you in a close quarters dogfight. It's simple as that. And there's obviously a lot of planes that are like this, but the reason the Hunter struggles with this especially is just because of limited range on its missiles, right? So when you fly this thing, you have to resort to ambush tactics, right? And the way that works is, well, usually you fly around at like low altitude or something so no one sees you. You catch people off guard and you fire a missile behind them when they're not looking. And yeah, fair enough, there's a lot of planes that you have to fly like this, like the F-100s for instance, the Harriers, but these things have missiles that have a longer range than the SRAMs. I mean, even the AIM-9B has a longer range than the SRAMs. It has like twice the range. So you have to get really good at ambush tactics, right? Like you really have to be good at calculating the intercept point of like when you're going to cross paths with that enemy plane, right? So you can just, you end up like right behind them because there's no other way of doing it. And you got to be really careful when you do this as well, because if you end up tunnel visioning someone for too long, you're just going to end up getting baited. Yeah, that's it, you little shit. Run away. You know you can't fight me. Wait, what? I am never opening my mouth ever again. Another thing worth mentioning on this aircraft is the fuel load. When you go to select it, it says that you can only select up to 13 minutes of fuel. But if you've been paying attention to the gameplay in this video, you might have noticed that I'm not actually sat at 100% throttle the whole time like you would in most other planes. And the reason for that is because the Hunter has really good acceleration at the low end despite not having an afterburner. However, it suffers at the top end. So you can actually get away with flying this thing at 70, 60, sometimes even 50% throttle, and you're actually still pretty fast. If you fly around at 50% throttle, you can probably, I mean, you can get away with flying around at 500 knots, which isn't actually that bad necessarily, because this, above 500 knots, this thing compresses pretty badly. And when you put all that together, you've been flying around at 50%, 60%, 70% throttle, even 80% throttle, you can actually make the fuel load last quite long. I mean, you can fly this thing, it says 13 minutes in the fuel load, but you can fly this thing around for 20 minutes. It's not an issue at all. Now, when you actually get into a dogfight in this thing, yeah, you can go to 100%. In fact, I recommend it, you know, for obvious reasons. But just what I mean is when you're just cruising around, right, from time, just looking for stuff to shoot at, you don't need to be 100% throttle the whole time. Oh, but Nimble, at the start of the video, you were so enthusiastic about this thing, and all you've done so far is list off negatives. Yep, I'm getting to it, okay? So why would you want to fly this thing? Well, one word, furballs. Furballs are basically big clusters of like aeroplanes in one big dogfight together. And the reason the Hunter is so good in furballs is because, not because of necessarily its dogfighting ability, but because of the way the SRAMs work. If you can get within range of someone being slow and not paying attention to you because they're paying attention to the guy in front of them or behind them, and if you can just fly in, do like a quick flyby and get your missile off, you are guaranteed to hit them pretty much 100% of the time, unless they see you coming. And even then, it's kind of like, well, they're gonna have to have flares or something in order to dodge it, otherwise it's just not happening. But even when you do manage to get pulled into one of these furballs and you start dogfighting people, the Hunter is kind of, well, it's kind of like the F5. If you fly it properly, it basically has infinite energy. So you can just go around in a turn at 400 knots or whatever. You can stay fast, you can pay attention. And after, like I said earlier, about 3 to 4 turns, nothing's really going to be able to keep up with you except for maybe like a MiG-19 or something, right? Also, you are going to hate MiG-19s in this. But even if you do constantly get eaten by MiG-19s and A5s with their stupid magics at 10.0, at least you're going to be making SL flying this thing. I mean, look at it. It's basically a premium. Even though we're probably still years away from seeing modern thrust vectoring missiles such as the AIM-9X or the Iris-T and War Thunder, the SRAMs with their incredibly short weapon deployment zone might give us a tiny glimpse of what close-range dogfights might be like in the future. In conclusion, definitely give this thing a go, guys, if you have it. I think by the time this video comes out, I think the top EC bracket is 9.7 to 11.3, so you're gonna have to wait another 4 days for the 9.0 to 10.0 to roll around. It's just me timing the video really poorly, but yeah, once it rolls around, definitely give it a go. It's heaps of fun to just energy trap MiG-21s and stuff like that, and you even have a decent chance against MiG-19s and A5s and stuff like that. Yeah, and the SRAMs make such easy work of just people that aren't aware of you. It's ridiculous. It's like playing the game on easy mode. It really is. And you make a lot of SL flying this thing as well. Like I showed in the video. I mean, it's kind of like a premium, really. It's kind of like a tech tree premium. It has like an insane Silver Lines modifier for whatever reason. But don't tell Gaijin. They might nerf it. Nah, but I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching as always. Hope to see you in the next one. And yeah, adios.